Hey there, it's Simon Hurley with Ranger Ink, and I'm here at Scrapbook.com ready to share my new Simon Hurley Create product line. Now, I get this question a lot, and it's kind of subjective to your own opinion, but I'm going to share what I think makes a more masculine card in today's video. You could totally bring florals or things like that into your card, depending on who you're making it for and what you love to create with, but I'm going to share some designs and styles that I love to create with when making masculine cards. Now, when I was creating my line, I wanted to make sure that the stamp sets had a little bit more of a masculine feel to them. You could totally use them with whatever gender you want, but a lot of my images do cater towards guys because I wanted clean and simple stamp sets that go along really nicely with whatever you're creating. So this trampoline set is super fun, but you could definitely use this for guys. And of course, the Dudes 2 stamp set creates cards that are great for guys in your life, and you can totally customize them to whoever you're creating it with. So it was really important to me to kind of keep that in mind as I was creating, because a lot of products on market aren't catered towards guys and girls, and so it was really great to be able to do that. Now, this card that I created features a guy from the Dudes 2 stamp set that I've watercolored in using my inks, and then I created a nice ink blended background and stamped in water with over top of my inks with the wood grain background stamp. This one is called Splintered. It's from my line, and it's got really thin lines in it, which I think is so much fun and creates a great wood grain pattern. And I think this is great for masculine cards. It kind of subtly is in the background there and lifted up by all that color, but you don't need to add tons of browns to make it masculine. You could totally keep all this color in here, and I really love that look. And then here are two cards made using the Trampoline Friends stamp set. This one with a little bit less coloring in it, but a really bold and graphic background. And then this one has a little bit more coloring with the guys and then a little bit more of a subtle background. And with this background, I used the painted lines background. You could take this and stamp it this way and also stamp it sideways since it's a 6x6 stamp. And then you get a really great grid pattern on it, which I think is just awesome. So now let's move on into creating this background. I really love the background and all the images on here, and I think it creates for a really great card. So I'm gonna start off with my classic flannel background stamp, and I'm gonna take my inks and just kind of apply them haphazardly onto the background stamp. You totally don't need to apply tons of ink onto the background because we're gonna spray it with water and it'll create a really fun watercolor effect. So I'm just taking some colors on here and mixing them together on the background. I'll take a little bit of overzealous as well, which is that nice green color. Add it into some areas on here. And I just like to go in with the corner of the ink pad just to kind of add a little bit of color into here. And you could totally use however many colors you want when you're adding them to the background. Now I'm going to take my distress sprayer with water in it, and I'm just going to go over top of the stamp and spray it down. This is going to make sure that these colors are going to move when we do our stamping here. Then I'm going to take a piece of stark white cardstock that I've trimmed down, and I'm just going to lay it right on top of that background stamp. I'm just going to give it a little bit of pressure all over so that it touches all of that ink below. And then I'll lift that right off of the surface. And you get that really fun background there. Now I'll get a little bit of areas that are a little darker, and if you want to go in here with a rag to just blot those up, you totally can to get rid of some of that color and make it a little bit more even on the surface there. So once I'm done with that, I really love this background that we kind of created. It almost looks a little bit tie-dyed. It's a great watercolor background, and each one you create are going to come out unique, which I absolutely love. And using this background stamp is perfect. It's got that really graphic, bold look to it, and I love all the bright colors on top of there. Okay, so now I'm going to take some images from the Trampoline Friends stamp set. I'll take the little trampoline here, and we'll put this right onto an acrylic block. And then I'll take some of the other images from the set, like this little bunny and some of the critters, and we're going to make those jumping right on our trampoline here, which is so much fun. So then I'm going to take some Ranger Archival ink in jet black, and this is just going to make sure that when we do our watercoloring in just a second here, that none of the ink is going to bleed with any of the color that we add down. And we can stamp it right down onto our surface here. Then when I lift that off, you can totally see that really awesome trampoline net texture in there. We worked really hard to make sure that that was really awesome and going to stay there to give you that really great trampoline look. Now I'll go in with my archival ink again, and I'm going to ink up the smaller images that we're going to make jumping on the trampoline. So there's tons of critters to choose from in the stamp set. Some are doing like backflips and little tricks, but I'm just going to stamp down the dog. And I'll also stamp down the little rabbit as well, jumping right next to him. So you can totally create a really awesome scene with these images. But I think it's so much fun to just stamp them down onto kind of a graphic pattern like this. Now I know there's a lot of people that don't love to color, and if you don't love to color in full images, but you still want to use them to create a scene like we are today, this is a great technique for you. So we've stamped them down onto a really bold and graphic pattern like we have, so there's some color behind the images. Now they don't stand out a ton right now, so to make them stand out, I'm gonna grab a little bit of my woof, which is my dye ink, and then I'm going to take my water brush, and I'm just gonna pick up a little bit of that ink, and just add this gray into some areas where there would be shadows. So where parts of the body meet, or you could just add them kind of around the edges of the image. This is just going to make them stand out and kind of black out a little bit of that color, make them look a little bit more realistic. What I love about this is you just take a little bit of time with your water brush to go in here with a little bit of gray and color that in, but you're not taking time to color in the full image. And I'll do the same thing for the trampoline here. I'll just add a little bit of shading right around the edges to make it stand out right from the background. So you don't need to create a full scene for it, just stamping that background was super simple and adding that little bit of shading makes them pop off the card and stand out a little bit more. And then I'm going to take the sentiment that says jumping by to say, and then you could put a bunch of different sentiments on here. So you've got happy birthday, congratulations, I believe in you. I'm gonna do the sentiment jumping by to say, and then I'll use the congratulations sentiment. So I'll just place this on my mat to make sure that it's straight, and then press my acrylic block right down. And that's just gonna make sure the stamp is really nice and lined up by putting it onto our mat before we apply it onto an acrylic block. And then I'm going to stamp it right below the trampoline. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the congratulations sentiment. You could totally do these together, but I find that I get better results with lining them up when I do them separately like this. And then I can make sure they're really nice and aligned as I'm stamping. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to add a little bit more detail by creating a ripped edge on this card as well. So to do this, I'm going to grab, this is Tim Holtz's ruler from his Glass Mat Media Tools, and I just like the straight edge on this because it's a nice solid tool. So I'm just going to line this up with the bottom of my card. This is just going to make a really kind of cool edge to your card. And then all I need to do is press down onto that to apply a little bit of pressure and rip up. You're going to get kind of a really fun ripped edge, but it's going to make sure that anything on this side of the ruler is still safe from your ripping. So once I've done that, you get a really cool ripped edge on your card like this, which I just think is awesome. I really love that. And then I'm going to grab a card base that I've made using my Stark White cardstock, and I'm just going to grab some tape runner and put this all around the outside of my panel that we've created. Then I can apply this right onto the top of the card and make sure that it lines up nicely with the side there. And then I'll place it down and give it some good pressure to make sure that it sticks. And there we go. We've created a really awesome, kind of more masculine card. You could totally give this to whoever you want, but I think that it looks really great. And even though we've incorporated tons of color, it still has an awesome masculine feel to it. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this lesson and learning a little bit more about my product line and some of the awesome things you can do with it. I love these kind of more masculine cards that we've created today, and you can definitely still incorporate lots of color with some really great images in it. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video and want to see more from Scrapbook.com, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a message. Happiness is life handmade.